Hello, what's up everybody? My name is Mike Brown, aka ReviewKingMB, and we are still doing my 31 days of horror movie reviews. We're getting down to the nitty gritty, the very end, and I was recommended this movie probably because the new one came out this year, but I've never seen this movie. So I had to sit down and watch for the first time Tales from the Hood. This is a 1995 horror anthology film that was written and directed by Rusty Cundiff, and it's executive produced by Spike Lee. When I saw his name in the credits, I said, holy crap! How the hell did he put his name on this film? And not just that, he's probably the only reason why there's any merit to some of the stories, some of the meanings behind the stories in the film. First, we see these thugs, these three thugs who are going to a morgue to meet the guy. He supposedly found drugs that they want to buy off of him. So they go in there and he's showing them all of these dead bodies, and that's where you get into the movie where each dead body has their own story of how they happened. And look, I enjoy anthologies. I do. I think it's underrated, the idea of it. I think not enough movies do it anymore. I like the idea that each story had its own meaning and had its own situation going on. It gives you a chance to get creative and go all out. But I'm sorry, this is horrible. This is horrible in almost every sense of the way. I know people who grew up on Tales from the Crypt. I remember seeing that on TV here and again. I was a kid. I never really avidly watched it. I just remember that creepy corpse dude hosting the show and then all of their stories. So look, I liked for example the first story, basically about this black activist who was out there trying to not only clean up the streets but stop racism with police and whatnot. Well, these cops pull him over, beat the holy fuck out of him. One of the black cops, the rookie cop, sees this and is appalled by it, and the white cops, they kill him and stage it to look like he was a drug addict or whatnot. So this guy comes back from the dead to get revenge on these white cops. This is 1995, and this situation of racist cops going after black people, that's still a relevant topic today. That's what made it fascinating. That's what made it kind of scary. Even besides the coming back from the dead and the horror of the movie, just that alone was more scary than anything else. But the problem is the writing. The writing is so sloppy. It takes an interesting idea and it doesn't take advantage of it. You have this black rookie cop who's in this situation. He's up against the wall because these cops are sticking up for themselves and they tell him you can't do anything. And then the weirdest transition, the weirdest cut, and we just see he's not a cop anymore. He's out drinking and he sees a portrait of the dead guy and he makes a promise to bring the cops to him. But I'm like, what happened in the middle of all of this? Why is he not a cop anymore? How did this dead guy come back? Was there a ritual that went on there? Was there something more to it? It just seems so lazily put together. Again, interesting ideas, but pretty lazy. I will give it credit for practical effects. I'll always give a movie credit for practical effects because it looks good, especially some of the gorier moments in the movie. The second story is this kid, he goes to school, he has bruises on him, and one of the teachers wants to find out what's going on. The kid draws a picture of a monster that he says is living in his house. And I thought this was interesting too, because sure, it's a kid and it's a monster, so you think to yourself, okay, they don't believe him, but maybe they will go there and there's a real monster somehow there. But you see that the monster is this kid's dad, who is abusive and beats up the mom and beats him up. Played by David Alan Grier, by the way. How random is that? So I like that, though, that he represented a monster. Like, there was a shot of him coming into the doorway of the kid's room, and his shadow looked like the monster that he drew, but it's him, it's a guy, and he's just beating on them. The teacher sees this, comes in, and what follows after that? Again, wasted, lazy, missed opportunity. I know Tales from the Crypt, stories like that have a twist to it, and it does get weird and spooky after a while. Even the Twilight Zone would have this weird twist and wrap up, but this was just the kid bends the picture that he drew, and it ends up bending the limbs of his father, and then he crumples it up and it crumples him up, and it's so silly. There are moments that did make me laugh and chuckle, and I guess that's what they were going for. But it's like, you start off with some heavy topics, some heavy ideas, some heavy stuff going on, and then you go full camp. I don't know. Who is this movie made for? What are we going for here? Are we trying to tell a meaning, a story, or are we just making dumb movies? And this is why I get upset with the predominantly black cast and the black director who have something. It could have been something special. It could have been something more. But it went the cheap, lazy route. The third story, especially, probably the worst story out of all of them, was this politician who is living on a house that used to be a plantation. And so people are protesting about it. And then you find out that the souls of slaves are still trapped in this house. They're inside these dolls, and the dolls kill them. It was such a nothing story. It was such a dumb story too, especially when you see the little dolls running around and biting on him, and I'm just like, okay, kind of a waste of time. The last story, I want to mention the actor involved in that, Lamont Bentley. I want to mention him because he was on that TV show Moesha, the Brandy TV show from the 90s that I watched. So it was cool to see him. And that story was a little more creepy because he was a guy who would go around and shoot other black people, and when he gets locked up in prison, it's supposed to be this woman who wants to mess with him a little bit in his head and his mind, saying, hey, look at the years of slavery, look at the years of racism and the Klan and all of these black people who have been wrongfully murdered, and look at what you guys are doing. See, this is what the ideas I'm talking about that could have been interesting, where you have these gangsters and they're killing each other really for no good reason, but he fights against it. He doesn't go along with it, and it gets him killed. Almost a message saying, hey thugs, this is where you're gonna end up. And that's where you get the wrap up, and I'm not going to reveal it. The three thugs that we were following in this, more talking to the actor Clarence Williams III, who just has this weird, crazy look to him, and just his eyes and the hair is just like, yeah, he plays this role very well. I've seen him in so many things over the years. But those three thug characters, I was so annoyed with them. I was so just like, kill them as quick as you can. The twist, I'm not going to give it away. I know it's an over 20-year-old movie, but the twist was a surprise. I didn't see coming. I thought it was a good twist. Probably the best part of the movie is that reveal. So there's that. But overall, I say this movie is pretty dumb. Pretty dumb. I could see if I was younger and I watched it, it probably would have really freaked me out. As a kid, I could see if other people grew up on it, so they have some weird attachment to it. Or I could see if some people just find it scary. But I thought there was more potential here. I thought there was things that could have been done to really make this movie stand out as a horror classic. As it stands, it's just a goofy-ass film. Anyways, guys, let me know in the comments below what you think of Tales from the Hood. Did you grow up with it? Do you like it? Or do you agree with me that it's just meh? Like, comment, subscribe. Later!
years. I've been through it all, let me trickle a tear. In case you didn't know, I was living sarcastic. A motherfucking monster, something Jurassic. Had to wrap the whole entire bed in plastic. Slugs bitch scared when she fucking with raptors. Killing and a drilling and I'm sipping on the 4-0. Listen by a whole entire motherfucking torso. Oh, what a rush, sniffing some more blow. Let the bitch bleed and I'm making a porno. I'ma keep it going a few times before I pass out.